My mom gave my inheritance to my sister, but she forgot one detail. My mother always said family comes first. She said love was more important than money. I believed her, even when my sister Vanessa treated me like I didn't belong. Vanessa was the golden child. The one who got praise for breathing. I was just there. When my father died, everything changed. The house felt colder. The silence felt louder. At the funeral, my mom held Vanessa's hand the whole time. She barely looked at me. A week later, she called us into the living room. "I need to talk about your father's inheritance," she said. My stomach tightened. Vanessa sat up straight, already smiling. Mom opened a folder. "Your father left something behind." I waited. Then she said the words that hit like a slap. "I'm giving it all to your sister." Vanessa's smile grew. I froze. "All of it?" Mom nodded calmly. "She needs it more." I couldn't breathe. "What about me?" I asked. Mom's voice turned sharp. "You'll be fine. You always manage." Vanessa leaned closer and whispered, "Guess you weren't worth it." I wanted to scream. But I just sat there. Because Mom thought it was over. She forgot one detail, and it would change everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, hearing my mother's words again and again. "I'm giving it all to your sister." Like I was nothing. Like my father never loved me. I walked into the garage where Dad used to work. The smell of oil and wood still lingered. I found a small box on his shelf. It had my name on it. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter. My father's handwriting was clear. "Ethan, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. And it probably means your mother made her choice." My heart pounded. I love both my children, but I know Vanessa will always be favored. So I did something to protect you. I swallowed hard. The inheritance is not what she thinks. Look for the detail she will miss. It will be your key. I read it 3 times. Dad knew. He knew this would happen. Tears burned my eyes. Vanessa thought she won. Mom thought she controlled everything. But Dad planned ahead. And whatever this detail was, it was meant for me. The next morning, Vanessa showed up at breakfast wearing a bright dress, like she was celebrating. Mom poured her coffee with a soft smile. "Your father would be proud," she told her. Vanessa sighed dramatically. "I just hope Ethan doesn't make this difficult." I gripped my spoon. Mom glanced at me. "Don't start trouble." Trouble. That's what standing up for myself was called. Vanessa leaned in. "So when are you moving out?" "The house will be mine soon anyway." I looked at her calmly. "We'll see." She laughed. "There's nothing to see." Mom made it clear. Mom nodded. "Vanessa will handle everything now." After breakfast, I went to Dad's old office. Mom never entered it. It still had his books, his papers, his safe. I remembered Dad once saying, "Some things are kept for the right moment." I knelt beside the safe. I typed in my birthday. Click. The safe opened. Inside was a folder. On top, one line made my blood run cold: "Property transfer requires both signatures." I stared. Both signatures? Mom didn't know. Vanessa didn't know. Suddenly, the inheritance wasn't so simple anymore. I held the document, reading every word slowly. Dad's estate included land, investments, and the family business. But the clause was clear: nothing could be fully claimed without both children signing. Vanessa couldn't own it alone. My heart raced. This was the detail. Dad knew Mom would try to cut me out. So he built protection. I heard footsteps behind me. I slid the paper back quickly. Mom stood in the doorway. "What are you doing in here?" she asked sharply. Just looking at Dad's things, I said. Her eyes narrowed. Don't dig into what doesn't concern you. That confirmed it. She had no idea. Later, Vanessa cornered me. Mom says you were snooping, she said. I shrugged. It was Dad's office. She smirked. Dad's dead. Everything belongs to Mom now. And Mom chose me. I leaned closer. You should read the fine print. Her smile faltered. That night, I called the lawyer's number I found. A man answered. Mr. Hawthorne's office. I swallowed. This is Ethan Hawthorne. There was a pause. Then he said carefully, I've been waiting for you to call. My stomach dropped. Waiting? This was bigger than I thought. The lawyer's name was Mr. Callahan. He asked me to meet privately. I didn't tell Mom or Vanessa. Something told me I couldn't trust anyone yet. The next day, I sat across from him in a quiet office. He slid a folder toward me. Your father was very specific, he said. He knew your mother would try to give everything to Vanessa. I swallowed hard. So he stopped her? Callahan nodded. He created a shared signature requirement. Without you, Vanessa gets nothing. My hands tightened. But there's more. He opened the folder and showed another page. A letter addressed to my mother. Your father told me to deliver this only if she crossed the line, Callahan explained. My breath caught. What does it reveal? He leaned in. The business, the property, everything your mother thinks she controls, was never actually in her name. My heart pounded. It was placed in a trust, he said. A trust controlled by you. I sat frozen. Vanessa thought she won. Mom thought she was in charge. But Dad left one detail they could never steal. Now, it was my move. I walked out of Callahan's office feeling like the world flipped upside down. Mom acted like she held the power. Vanessa acted like she was already rich. But Dad made sure I wouldn't be erased. Callahan's words echoed, your mother can't access it without you. When I got home, Vanessa sat on the couch scrolling. Where were you? She asked. Out, I said. Mom appeared. You've been acting strange. I shrugged. Vanessa smirked. Or maybe you're realizing you lost. I turned slowly. You should be careful, I said. Her smile dropped. Careful about what? I didn't answer. In my room, I reread Dad's letter. Look for the detail she will miss. This wasn't about money. It was about respect. Mom had started a fight she didn't even know she was in. The next morning, Mom called a family meeting. Vanessa sat beside her like a queen. Mom folded her hands. We will finalize everything next week. Vanessa smiled. Finally. Mom looked at me. You will sign whatever is needed. No drama. I raised my eyes. What if I don't? The room went still. Vanessa laughed. You don't have a choice. Mom's voice turned cold. Don't embarrass yourself. I leaned back. Dad wanted both signatures, didn't he? Vanessa froze. Mom blinked. What did you say? I tilted my head. You didn't read everything, did you? Mom stood sharply. That's not true. Vanessa snapped, stop talking in riddles. I stood. Talk to Mr. Callahan. Mom's lips trembled. You went behind my back? I met her stare. You went behind mine first. Vanessa's panic rose. And for the first time, their victory didn't look so certain. That afternoon, Vanessa stormed into my room. What did you do? She demanded. Nothing. I just read, I said. She scoffed. Mom says you're trying to steal my inheritance. I stood. Your inheritance? She pointed at me. Dad wanted me to have it. I laughed bitterly. You've never paid for anything yourself. Her face reddened. How dare you? I stepped closer. How dare you act like I didn't lose him too? She froze. Then hardened again. You were always jealous. I shook my head. No. I was always invisible. Vanessa swallowed. So what is this detail? I stared at her. Ask Dad's lawyer. She narrowed her eyes. Mom says you'll fold. You always do. I smiled slightly. Maybe you don't know me. She left, slamming the door. My heart pounded. Dad's gift wasn't money. It was a chance to finally matter. 3 days later, Mom sat across from Callahan. Vanessa sat beside her, arms crossed. I sat quietly. Mom forced a smile. Vanessa deserves what her father left. Callahan adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Hawthorne, your husband created a trust. Mom blinked. A trust? Vanessa scoffed. Transfer it to me. Callahan stayed calm. It cannot be transferred without Ethan's approval. Mom's smile vanished. Callahan slid a paper forward. The trust is controlled by Ethan. Silence slammed into the room. Vanessa's face went white. Mom whispered, no, Callahan continued. If Ethan refuses, Vanessa receives nothing. Vanessa stood shaking. This is a mistake. Callahan's voice was firm. It is not. Mom turned to me, eyes wide. You knew? I met her gaze. I found Dad's letter. And suddenly, the power they thought they had, was gone. Outside the office, Mom grabbed my arm. You planned this, she hissed. I pulled away. Dad planned it. Vanessa's eyes were wild. You're punishing us. I shook my head. You punished me first. Mom's voice rose. I am your mother. And I am your son, I said quietly. The one you threw away. Vanessa stepped forward. So what now? You're in charge? I looked at them. Dad wanted fairness. Mom laughed bitterly. You want revenge. I stayed calm. I want truth. Mom snapped, if you don't sign, you'll destroy this family. I whispered, what family? Vanessa's voice softened. Please, just sign. I stared at her. She wasn't scared for Dad. She was scared of losing comfort. I turned to my car. I'm not signing yet, I said. Mom gasped. Ethan. I paused. There's one more detail, I added. They froze. Vanessa whispered, what detail? I looked back once. The trust has conditions. Their faces fell. And I drove away, leaving them with fear instead of victory. The next day, Mom called me nonstop. I didn't answer. My phone buzzed until it went quiet. I needed time to think. Dad's trust wasn't just a trick. It was a message. He knew Mom would choose Vanessa. He knew I would be left behind. That evening, Mr. Callahan emailed me the full trust document. I opened it slowly. My eyes scanned the page until one section made my stomach drop. Condition 1, the estate may only be released if both children agree to fair distribution. Fair distribution. Not favoritism. Not greed. Then I saw another line. Condition 2, if conflict continues, the estate will be donated to charity. I sat back, stunned. Dad had built a safeguard. If Vanessa and Mom kept fighting, they could lose everything. Suddenly, I understood. Dad didn't want war. He wanted balance. But Mom and Vanessa only saw money. They didn't see his heart. My door creaked open. Vanessa stood there, quieter than before. Ethan, she whispered, what are the conditions? I looked at her carefully. Dad was smarter than all of us, I said. Her voice trembled. Tell me. I paused. If we don't agree, nobody gets anything. Her face went pale. And for the first time, she looked truly scared. Vanessa sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her. Charity, she whispered. Dad would give it away? I nodded. If we can't act like family. She swallowed hard. Mom didn't tell me any of this. I laughed softly. Mom didn't know. Vanessa stared at the floor. So what do you want? That question hit me. What did I want? I wanted Dad back. I wanted years of being ignored to disappear. But I couldn't change the past. I said, I want fairness. Vanessa's eyes flicked up. Mom says you're doing this to hurt us. I'm doing this because you hurt me first, I replied. She flinched. Silence filled the room. Then she whispered, I didn't think it mattered. I leaned forward. That's the problem. You never thought I mattered. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were real. She stood suddenly. Mom will never accept this, she said. Then Mom will lose everything, I answered. Vanessa froze. The truth hung heavy. Dad's final detail wasn't just legal. It was emotional. It forced them to face what they'd done. And now, the next move wasn't about money. It was about whether my mother could finally see me. The following morning, Mom showed up at my work. I was stocking shelves at the hardware store, trying to keep life normal. Her expensive coat stood out like a spotlight. We need to talk, she snapped. I sighed. Okay. Mom's eyes narrowed. Don't okay me. You're holding your sister's future hostage. I kept my voice calm. Dad wrote the trust. Not me. She stepped closer. He wouldn't do this without reason. I nodded. He had a reason. Mom's face tightened. Because you poisoned him against us. That made my chest burn. I didn't poison anyone, I said. You did that yourself. Mom's lips trembled. I raised you. You raised Vanessa, I replied softly. That stopped her. People nearby pretended not to listen, but they were. Mom lowered her voice. What do you want, Ethan? I looked at her. I want you to admit I'm your son too. Her eyes flickered with something like guilt. Then her pride returned. Fine. You're my son. Now sign. I shook my head. That's not how it works. Her voice rose. Then you'll ruin us all. I leaned in. No, Mom. You already did. Dad just made sure you couldn't do it again. That night, Vanessa called me. Her voice was softer than usual. Ethan. Mom's losing it. I didn't respond. She continued, she says you're tearing the family apart. I let out a slow breath. Vanessa, the family was torn long before this. Silence. Then she whispered, what if we agree to split it? I almost laughed. Now you want to split it? Yes, she said quickly. 50-50. Whatever you want. I leaned back. You don't mean that. You mean you're scared of losing everything. Her voice cracked. Maybe I am. That honesty surprised me. I asked, do you even miss Dad? She paused too long. Then, quietly, I miss what he gave us. That was the truth. Vanessa loved comfort, not connection. I said, Dad wanted more than money for us. She whispered, I don't know how to fix this. I answered, start by seeing me. Another pause. I'm sorry, she said. The words sounded unfamiliar, like she'd never used them before. I didn't forgive her yet. But something shifted. Dad's forgotten detail was doing its job. It was forcing truth into the open. And truth is always the hardest inheritance. A week later, Mr. Callahan arranged a final meeting. Mom arrived tense. Vanessa looked nervous. I felt strangely calm. Callahan placed the documents on the table. This trust will activate donation clauses if no agreement is reached within 30 days, he said. Mom stiffened. This is madness. Callahan remained firm. This was Mr. Hawthorne's wish. Vanessa looked at me. Ethan, please. Mom snapped, don't beg him. I raised a hand. Stop. They both froze. I took a deep breath. Dad didn't want us fighting over his death, I said. Mom's eyes flashed. Then sign and end it. I shook my head. No. We end it by changing. Vanessa whispered, how? I looked at my mother. You chose Vanessa because you thought I'd survive without love. Mom's jaw tightened. I continued, but surviving isn't the same as belonging. Callahan watched silently. Mom's voice broke. I didn't think you cared. That hurt most of all. I cared every day, I said. Vanessa's eyes filled. Mom, we were wrong. Mom stared at us, pride cracking. The inheritance wasn't money anymore. It was a test. And Dad's forgotten detail was simple, he left us a choice. Family, or loss. Mom didn't speak for a long time after that meeting. She just sat there, staring at the papers like they were written in another language. Vanessa kept glancing at her, waiting for permission to breathe. I watched my mother's face, hoping to see something real. Finally, she whispered, your father planned this. Mr. Callahan nodded. He wanted peace, Mrs. Hawthorne. Mom's lips trembled. He didn't trust me. I answered softly, he didn't trust what you became. That stung her. Vanessa reached out. Mom pulled her hand back. No. Let him speak. That surprised me. She looked at me with tired eyes. Ethan. I didn't think you'd fight. I gave a sad smile. I wasn't fighting. I was finally standing. Silence filled the room again. Callahan cleared his throat. You have 2 weeks left before the charity clause activates. Vanessa gasped. 2 weeks? Mom stood abruptly. Fine. We will split it. I blinked. Vanessa whispered, really? Mom's voice cracked. Yes. 50-50. Vanessa looked relieved. But I wasn't. Because fairness on paper didn't fix years of being unseen. I looked at Mom. This isn't just about money. Her eyes flickered. Then what is it about? I whispered, about the son you forgot. And the truth finally started to sink in. That night, Mom knocked on my door for the first time in years. Not barging in. Not shouting. Knocking. I opened it slowly. She stood there holding an old photo album. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of my bed, looking uncomfortable. I found this, she said, opening the album. Pictures of Dad. Pictures of Vanessa. Then, pictures of me as a little kid, smiling wide. Mom traced the page with her finger. You were so happy, she whispered. I swallowed. I didn't stay that way. She nodded slowly. After your father started the business, I got scared. I frowned. Scared of what? Her voice shook. Of losing everything. Of struggling. Vanessa reminded me of comfort. You reminded me of your father, stubborn, quiet, strong. I stared at her. So you punished me for being like him? Tears filled her eyes. I didn't mean to. I sat down across from her. But you did. She nodded, shame rising. When he died, I thought giving it all to Vanessa would keep me safe. I whispered, and what about me? Mom looked up. I thought you didn't need me. That hurt worse than anger. I said softly, everyone needs their mother. Mom's face crumpled. And for the first time, she wasn't defending herself. She was listening. The next day, Vanessa cornered me outside. Mom talked to you, didn't she? She asked. I nodded. Vanessa's voice lowered. She's changing. I gave a small shrug. Maybe. Vanessa looked uncomfortable. Ethan. I don't know who I am without being the favorite. That honesty surprised me. I studied her face. She looked less like a queen and more like a lost girl. You could be someone real, I said. She swallowed. I don't know how. I sighed. Start by not competing. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Mom taught me that love was a prize. I nodded slowly. Dad tried to teach us love was shared. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. I didn't deserve it. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, none of us deserve to be broken apart. Vanessa wiped her face quickly. Do you hate me? I paused. Hate was easy. Healing was harder. I don't hate you, I said. I just don't trust you yet. She nodded, accepting it. Fair. She hesitated. If we split the inheritance, what will you do? I looked out at the sky. I don't know. Maybe I'll finally live without feeling small. Vanessa whispered, I want that too. And for the first time, we weren't enemies. Just siblings standing in the ruins of what our family became. A few days later, Mr. Callahan called another meeting. This time, Mom arrived without her sharp voice. Vanessa arrived without her smug smile. Callahan placed the final agreement on the table. Equal distribution, he said. Mom nodded. Yes. Vanessa whispered, yes. Callahan looked at me. Ethan? I stared at the pen. This was the moment they thought was the finish line. But my father's forgotten detail still echoed. It wasn't just signatures. It was change. I looked at Mom. Before I sign, I need to ask something. Mom's hands tightened. What? My voice was calm. Did Dad ever tell you why he created the trust? Mom blinked. No, I nodded slowly. He did it because he knew you'd choose Vanessa. Mom flinched. Vanessa looked down. I continued, but he also did it because he believed you could still do the right thing. Mom's eyes shimmered. I failed him. I shook my head. You're here now. Silence. Then Mom whispered, Ethan. I'm sorry. The words sounded heavy, real. Vanessa added quietly, me too. I took a deep breath and picked up the pen. The ink hovered above the line. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't victory. It was a door. I signed. Callahan nodded. Then your father's wishes are fulfilled. Mom exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. But the story wasn't over yet. Because Dad had one last letter, and it was meant for all of us. Mr. Callahan reached into his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. Your father instructed me to give you this after the signatures, he said. Mom stiffened. Vanessa leaned forward. My heart pounded. Callahan placed it on the table. On the front were 3 names, Linda, Vanessa, Ethan. Mom's fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter, written in Dad's steady handwriting. Mom began reading aloud, her voice breaking. If you are hearing this, then you finally chose each other over money. Vanessa covered her mouth. Mom continued. Linda, I loved you. But I saw fear growing inside you. Fear makes people selfish. Mom sobbed quietly. Vanessa, you were never wrong for being loved. You were wrong for believing love was earned by taking from others. Vanessa's tears fell fast. Mom read the final part, her voice barely a whisper. Ethan, you were always my quiet strength. I'm sorry you had to feel invisible. This trust was my way of making sure you would be seen. I felt my throat tighten. Dad saw me. Even when no one else did. Mom folded the letter to her chest. Vanessa whispered, he knew. I nodded. He always knew. And in that moment, the inheritance wasn't land or money. It was the truth my father left behind. The forgotten detail wasn't legal. It was love, written into the fine print. After Dad's letter, the house felt different. The air wasn't heavy anymore. It was quiet, but not cold. Mom stopped hovering over Vanessa like she was fragile glass. Vanessa stopped acting like the world owed her comfort. And I stopped feeling like a guest in my own life. One evening, Mom asked me to sit with her in the living room. She held 2 cups of tea. I used to think being a mother meant choosing the stronger child, she admitted. I frowned. Vanessa wasn't stronger. Mom nodded slowly. No. She was louder. And I mistook that for strength. Vanessa sat nearby, listening. Mom looked at me. You were always strong, Ethan. I just didn't know how to love someone who didn't demand it. That hurt, but it was honest. Vanessa whispered, I demanded everything. Mom's eyes filled. And I gave it, because I was afraid. I asked quietly, afraid of what? Mom stared at her hands. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of losing control. Silence. Then she said something I never expected. I want to fix this, even if it takes the rest of my life. Vanessa began to cry softly. I didn't rush to comfort her. I just sat there. Healing wasn't dramatic. It was slow. But for the first time, we were walking forward instead of tearing apart. Vanessa moved out a month later. Not because she was kicked out, but because she wanted to prove something. She got a small apartment across town. No luxury. No praise. Just real life. The first week, she called Mom twice a day, panicking over bills and grocery prices. Mom didn't rescue her. She simply said, you'll learn. Vanessa called me once, late at night. Ethan, how did you live like this for years? I paused. Because I had no choice. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. That apology felt different now. Not forced. Not desperate. Just real. Meanwhile, I began visiting Dad's business office. For the first time, I wasn't just the forgotten son. I was an owner. Workers greeted me with respect. Some even said, your father would be proud. Those words used to feel like salt in a wound. Now they felt like warmth. Mom started volunteering at a local charity, the one Dad had listed in the trust. She said it reminded her what mattered. One afternoon she told me, money is loud. Love is quiet. I nodded. Dad knew that. And slowly, our family began learning it too. One day, Vanessa showed up at the office. She wore plain clothes, no expensive jewelry, no perfect hair. She looked normal. She asked to speak privately. We sat in Dad's old conference room. Vanessa took a deep breath. I got a job, she said. I blinked. A real job? She rolled her eyes. Yes. A real one. I couldn't help smiling. Doing what? Assistant manager at a bookstore, she replied. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I nodded slowly. That's good. Vanessa's voice softened. I used to think inheritance was proof I mattered. I stayed quiet. She continued, but it wasn't. It was just money. She looked up at me. You mattered even without it. My chest tightened. I didn't know what to say. Vanessa whispered, I spent my whole life taking up space, and you spent yours disappearing. I swallowed. I didn't want to disappear. She nodded. I know. Tears filled her eyes. I want to be your sister now. Not your enemy. I studied her face. Trust was fragile. But effort mattered. I finally said, okay, one step at a time. Vanessa exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. And for the first time, her smile wasn't smug. It was human. Mom invited both of us to Dad's grave on the anniversary of his death. The sky was gray, the wind gentle. We stood in silence, three people who once felt like strangers. Mom placed flowers down carefully. I'm sorry, she whispered. Vanessa wiped her eyes. I stared at the name carved in stone. Dad wasn't here to see what his final detail had done. But maybe, he already knew. Mom turned to us. Your father gave us more than money, she said. He gave us a chance to stop repeating the same mistakes. Vanessa nodded. I don't want to be the person I was. Mom's voice shook. Neither do I. She looked at me, eyes full. Ethan, thank you for not walking away. I replied softly, I almost did. Mom flinched. I know. Vanessa whispered, we didn't deserve you staying. I took a slow breath. Maybe not. But Dad deserved peace. Mom nodded, tears falling. He got it. We stood there together, not perfect, not healed completely, but honest. The inheritance was settled. The money was divided. But the real gift was something else. It was seeing each other clearly for the first time. Dad's forgotten detail wasn't about property. It was about family. And it worked. People think inheritance stories are about money. About who wins and who loses. But mine wasn't. Mine was about being forgotten, and finally being seen. My mom gave my inheritance to my sister because she thought I would stay quiet. She thought I didn't matter. Vanessa believed love was something you earned by taking more. They both forgot one detail. My father was paying attention the whole time. He wrote fairness into the fine print. He wrote love into the legal words. He made sure I could not be erased. In the end, I didn't take everything. I didn't destroy them. I didn't seek revenge. I simply stood up and refused to disappear. Vanessa learned how to live without privilege. Mom learned how to love without fear. And I learned that strength doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it signs. Sometimes it forgives slowly. Dad's last lesson was simple: money can divide people. But truth brings them back together. Now, when I walk into the business, I feel proud. When I sit with my family, I feel real. And when I think about the day Mom tried to give everything away, I realize she didn't just forget a legal detail. She forgot her son. But thanks to my father, she remembered. And that was the greatest inheritance of all.